program is The Active Center. It's created by David Sappe.
Pronounced Seppi.
Pronounced Seppi. Today we're looking at the massive seismic shift that just happened on February 20, 2026.
Yeah, it is a big one.
The Supreme Court handed down a ruling that effectively blocks the president from using emergency powers to set tariffs. And just to set the stage here, we're pulling from Chief Justice Roberts' majority opinion, some immediate economic impact reports, and some deep legal theory on American exceptionalism.
Right. And before we jump in, we should make it completely clear to you listening that we are not taking any political sides here, left or right. We are strictly looking at the source material to impartially convey what these documents are actually saying.
Exactly. We're just the messengers today. So our mission is to figure out why the court classified tariffs specifically as taxes, what that actually means for your wallet right now, and how this connects to the structural design of the U.S. government.
Let's get right into the legal mechanics of it. The administration was leaning on IEEP, that's the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. They argued these tariffs were just a method of regulating importation.
But the court wasn't buying it. Roberts really dismantled that argument, right?
Completely. The majority opinion clarifies that while the executive branch can regulate trade during an emergency, it cannot unilaterally generate revenue. They drew a very hard line. A tariff is a tax.
And when you call it a tax, you trigger a completely different set of constitutional rules. Because under the Constitution, the power of the purse belongs strictly to Congress.
Yes, it creates a firewall. Roberts is rejecting this modern trend of treating tariffs purely as foreign policy levers. He's reminding everyone that these are domestic charges paid by importers and ultimately by you, the consumer.
It's a massive check on executive overreach. The ruling basically says the framers never intended for the president to bypass the people's representatives to levy duties, no matter what the emergency is.
Which brings us to the part that hits your bank account. The economic data on this fallout is wild.
Yeah, if these tariffs are dead in the water, the immediate inflationary pressure just drops.
Significantly. Analysts from the Budget Lab crunched the numbers, and blocking these tariffs prevents a projected 1.2% spike in consumer prices. For the average household, you're looking at keeping about $800 in your pocket annually that would have otherwise just vanished into higher costs for goods.
That is a highly tangible win for consumers. And businesses are looking at a massive windfall too, right? Something like $130 billion in refunds for duties already collected.
It's a huge injection of liquidity back into the private sector. Supply chains have been begging for predictability, and this finally gives it to them. Wall Street actually reacted immediately with a relief rally in equities, almost the second the news broke.
Because the immediate threat of a trade war escalation is totally off the table. But there's always a trade-off. You can't just delete a revenue stream without consequences.
That is the big downside. The government just lost a projected $3.7 trillion over the next decade. That revenue is supposed to offset the tax cuts in what was dubbed the One Big Beautiful Bill. Now we're staring at a much larger federal deficit.
And it weakens the U.S. negotiating position. The whole strategy was using the threat of universal reciprocal tariffs to get China, Mexico, and Canada to the table.
The leverage is gone. Without the ability to strike quickly, the threat just isn't as scary.
But the president isn't totally out of options. We know Section 232 and Section 301 exist. Why not just use those from the start if IEEPA was so legally risky?
Because those tools are incredibly slow and precise. Section 232 requires a 270-day investigation to prove a national security threat. Section 301 requires very specific findings of unfair trade practices.
So the administration wanted a light switch they could flip instantly, and the court is forcing them to use a dimmer switch that takes months.
Exactly, and that it feels like a feature of the system, not a bug.
That perfectly connects to Justice Antonin Scalia's old arguments about American exceptionalism.
It really is a vindication of his views. Scalia always argued that our Bill of Rights isn't unique. Plenty of dictatorships have great rights listed on paper. He believed the real protection of liberty is the structure of government itself, the separation of powers.
Right, the idea that gridlock is actually the point. The friction is intentional.
Scalia argued that making it difficult to pass laws or raise taxes is designed to prevent any single branch from unilaterally altering the nation's economic fabric. By forcing the president back to Congress, the court is enforcing that exact friction.
So to wrap this up, the court has reasserted that the executive is not a monarch. Even in trade, you have to work within the constitutional framework.
It secures the separation of powers. But I want to leave you with a thought on that friction. Scalia argued that structural gridlock protects liberty.
But we live in a digital, high-frequency global economy now where markets move in milliseconds. Is an 18th century structure designed to slow things down still a shield that protects us? Or is it becoming a shackle that prevents us from adapting to modern threats?
That is the defining question for the next decade.
Something for you to mull over.